Hi there, we're live on Facebook. I'm just going to try and see if we can go live on Instagram as well. Definitely getting some rubber band action today. Rubber bands are holding my devices on stands today for our live because my stand broke. So I just quickly want to do the technical here on this side for the Instagram as well. There we go, live. I find it odd that Instagram doesn't always just go live. Add a title, there we go. And we are live, there we go. So sorry for that little bit of a technical glitch there in the beginning. Hey Catherine, I can see you've just logged in, awesome, welcome. I'm going live today on Facebook and Insta, and as I said, my devices are on stands with rubber bands. It's quite interesting how I propped it up. I think all these stands that you buy to sort of hold your phones are not necessarily designed for the bigger phones, so they're probably going to have to upgrade those. So mine broke this morning, very bad timing. But it's okay. We fixed the situation. At least my husband's home. He's quite a handy DIY man, so he quickly helped me out to get my phones propped up. So I'm very happy that I'm doing a live again today. For the last 2 weeks, obviously, I presented you with two recorded videos, and the reason I needed to do that, remember, I was on the road. And I did try, I think I made a recording and then I want to try to load it onto Instagram while we were busy driving, and it chowed about 2 gigs of my data just trying to get it onto Instagram, and in the end it just wouldn't load. So yes, definitely not the best thing to try and do a video upload to social media while you are driving through Karoo in South Africa. It's not advisable. All right, so welcome today. It's going to be a very nice live session. It may be a little bit longer than normal because the oil we're talking about is so incredibly versatile. There's just so many amazing uses for this oil. So for those of you that can stay right until the end, awesome. Otherwise, if it gets too long, remember you can always go and watch the replay either in the feed on my Facebook page called Botanically, an alchemy of soothing botanic ingredients. You can also go and watch the replay on my YouTube channel. And for those of you that don't have the link for that yet, just pop it in the comments right in their YouTube, and I'll send you specifically the YouTube channel link as well. So you can always be notified if you've subscribed when my videos have been uploaded. So welcome. For those of you that are new, I can see Shirley's just logged in. Welcome, welcome. I can see Bev is also just there, which is really awesome. Let's see who else is coming in. So I can see more names popping up. Remember, if you want me to give you a shout out, just say something in the comments, because otherwise the comments tend to not move upwards and then I can't see who's there. So yeah, let's get started. We are talking about rosemary today, and it's episode 31 already for my single essential oil series, which is a really long time if you think about it. Every week showing up, teaching you about these beautiful essential oils. So I'm really grateful for all my loyal fans wanting to come and learn more about the oils. So if ever you find anything useful, obviously remember to share with those around you that you think may need this information. I can see that Alison Watson has just joined on Insta. Welcome, welcome. Oh, there's a wave function. I'm going to try and press that. There we go. All right, so let's get started. Rosemary is probably one of my top plants and oils of all time. And I think the reason for that is I really love cooking, and rosemary is obviously fantastic with cooking. I even brought a piece here today. My rosemary is a special one. It's not a normal rosemary. It's actually got a sort of there's almost like a ginger aspect to the specific species. And you know those little tags that you plant with it so that you can remember the species name? That obviously has withered away after very many years. So I can't remember the original species. But it definitely has a ginger sort of tinge to this rosemary that's incredibly powerful as well. I can see Leslie's just logged in as well. Welcome, welcome. So this is the essential oil. I mean, when you take this rosemary plant and you just literally, if you don't have the essential oil, but you've got the plant, you can get those aromatics by simply just stroking the leaves. And it's this absolutely beautiful, enlivening, delicious smell that comes from this plant. It's one of my favorites. I really love lamb and I really love sweet potato. And I think rosemary pairs really well with both of those. And it's also really good in salad dressings, by the way. So rosemary is just an incredible plant to have around. Oh, hello, Alka. She's saying hello, sunshine. I hope it's sunny in the Netherlands. I don't know what your weather's like there today, but hopefully it's not too cloudy. So yes, it's sunny here in South Africa, but it's winter is coming. I can feel it. You can see I'm wearing my jacket today. There's definitely that sort of bone chilling cold that you get in the valleys in Pretoria that's coming over now. It's definitely there. Winter's here. So I love this plant, but I obviously also use my rosemary essential oil very, very often because of the beautiful mental and physical aspects and support that it provides. So rosemary, I think if you've got to think about rosemary and what it's known for is focus and memory. And I think because I am so very passionate about brain health and always being at the top of my game, I don't like having brain fog, for example, or feeling that I can't think or anything like that. Not at all. So that's why rosemary is on the top of my list. It's just one of those oils that I find in a lot of my blends as well, even when I'm making other blends. Rosemary is always one of the top oils, and I have a couple around the home. I actually have a bottle in my kitchen because I like it to use it there. Whether it's in the diffuser or in my cooking. I have one here in my office because the rosemary is always in my diffuser, and I also have some in my room because there you can start adding it to body lotions and things, also for joint discomfort, muscle discomfort. So yeah, rosemary is everywhere in my house. It's also part of many of my favorite essential oil companies' blends, and I'll go through them as we chat today. But let's, before I get carried away about why this is my favorite oil, let's start talking about the chemical constituents, because there's always got to be science in there as well. Alison is saying, no, Alison is saying she kills her plants, and that's why she also needs the oil for cooking. I actually saw a very interesting YouTube video the other day about a very well-known chef. He's a Michelin star chef, and he actually made the comment, and I never really thought about it this way. Chefs really struggle sometimes to find incredibly fresh herbs. And remember, because these are aromatic components, the part that we love the most about herbs is the flavor they provide, and that comes from those aromatic components. So when the herbs are no longer fresh, they lose their fragrance and therefore also their potency in flavor. So there's a lot of the chefs now that are starting to use the food grade, tested grade essential oils, because we know they're pure. They're starting to use those in their cooking instead when they can't find the plants. So that's exactly what Alison is doing, because they feel that they just get a lot more flavor and potency out of the fragrance and the taste, because they are just so much stronger. And obviously, when the plants lose their aromatics, then the green is in the dish, for example, but you don't necessarily have that very strong flavor that they're after. So yeah, there's a really nice top tip there. I'll go and check which one it is that I'm specifically referring to, but I've actually seen quite a couple of chefs now starting to use specifically tested grade essential oils in their cooking. So that's really awesome. All right, so it's brain health, it's memory, it's focus. And I think because of all those things, it's definitely one of those that you have to have at home for all different situations, whether it be physical, whether it be emotional. We need rosemary in our lives. So they also call it the plant of remembrance. So they, for example, suggest that having a rosemary plant next to someone who's at the end of life stages, having a rosemary plant next to them is already great because it's antiseptic, so it really makes the room smell fantastic. But more than that, it invokes memories and it helps memory recall. So helping them remember the good times. So rosemary is a really, really good plant to have around just in general, in your garden, in your house, and then obviously having the essential oils around as well. So I think mental health and mental clarity is something that a lot of people struggle with, specifically with focus. And this is where rosemary's chemical constituents are so important, because it's mainly got 1.8 cineol, which, if you remember, is eucalyptol from my eucalyptus live very many weeks ago. So that's going to be really good for respiratory support. And then the other chemical that is in there is alpha-pinene together with camphor. So the camphor and the 1.8 cineol, those are the respiratory sort of chemical constituents. And then the alpha-pinene, if you think, we also find that in, for example, Siberian fir or in frankincense. So the alpha-pinene is actually a molecule which is responsible for that. I have it all together, and focused feeling. It makes you feel good. It's like when you're walking through a forest. What you're smelling there and that happy molecule that you're getting from the trees is usually the alpha pinene that the trees are sort of exhaling into the air, and that's what makes us feel good. It's forest bathing. So rosemary is obviously very high in the alpha pinenes there. And I think what is quite interesting here scientifically, the 1.8 cineol, what that does in your brain is it actually increases the neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, and that is responsible for memory and focus and concentration. How awesome is that? So that's why rosemary is so incredibly important when we start talking about brain and mental health. It's also very supportive to the nervous system. So rosemary is one of those essential oils where you think about degenerative nervous system conditions. Rosemary is going to be an essential oil that's going to be really supportive for your body, especially if you suffer from those diseases. So I've mentioned that it is good for respiratory oil, so it's a decongestant. So it's always good to have it in the diffuser. It smells really amazing, by the way. So it's a really good one. It's going to open up the airways. It's also incredibly stimulating and energy providing. So when we start looking at things like that, the stimulation and the energy, awesome for most people, but I think just a contraindication. So to be a little bit more wary and use with a lot more caution around people with epilepsy, for example, because it can be overstimulating to them. And obviously cause something that we don't necessarily want to induce. And definitely also if you are someone that suffers from very high blood pressure, some people find the rosemary oil so stimulating that it also then can have an effect on their blood pressure. So those are the two sort of contraindications, and I think always use essential oils with care during pregnancy. Rosemary oil would definitely be one of them. All right. There's a lot of oils that are safe around pregnancy. You can actually use most of them as long as they're tested grade. The only one I would sort of avoid in the first trimester is, for example, clary sage, because the doulas actually use clary sage to induce labor. So that's not a good one. Rosemary can be used with care. All right. So this 1.8 cineol molecule for me is very fascinating because it's also, besides the fact that it increases the acetylcholine, there's also interaction with dopamine. And if you think where dopamine plays a role, it's that addiction thing. It's that feel good that you get from a child, for example, playing on an iPad all the time. It's that dopamine rush. So for people who have addictive personalities, I'd say, or who are struggling to get rid of a bad habit because they're craving that dopamine rush, rosemary can be very supportive. Especially if you're going to be putting that in the diffuser. I can also see Fiona's just logged in. Welcome. Hope you're coming to learn some fun things today about rosemary, and there will be quite a few recipes at the end as well. So rosemary is part of the mint family, and therefore it blends incredibly well with all other plants who are part of the mint family, thinking things like basil, even cilantro, and a lot of the citrus essential oils. They blend really well together, so they make good fragrances together. So not only are they going to have supportive benefits for your body and mentally, but they're going to smell good too. All right, so the 1.8 cineol, which is an ester, I'm just going to look at my chemistry wheel down here at the left. 1.8 cineol is an ester, and then obviously the alpha pinene is a alcohol. They are both incredibly restoring, and what restoring here means is that these oils are usually very incredible for emotional as well as physical support. So they are meant to help revive, strengthen, rejuvenate the body as well as the senses. Just think about all these beautiful spa treatments that one gets. Really, really good for that if you have the rosemary around. And when we look physically, thinking about the spa thing, rosemary is an incredible oil for self-care because it's so very good for hair and scalp support. So when you need a little bit of extra loving care on your head, definitely go and reach for the hair care oil known as rosemary. And you know what, I've got a lot of people lately that say to me they've got a lot of hair fall, and yes, there can be underlying conditions, so it's always a good to go and have a look at that on what the root cause could be, especially now during the winter time. I've heard a lot more people asking me what essential oils are really good for good hair health. But I think what we need to sort of remember is that our hair actually goes through a cycle. And I'm going to be reading here from one of my favorite books, complete book of essential oils and aromatherapy. It's a really amazing book. It's by Valerie Ann Wormwood. And what they say about falling hair is that hair always goes through a cycle of growing. So that growing phase is called the anagen phase. And this lasts usually for around 3 years, depending obviously if you're ill or not. And then there's a static period of about 3 to 4 months. They call this the catagen phase. And then before that, that catagen phase happens just before a period when the hair starts falling out. So this is the telogen phase. And it's basically your hair getting to a phase, getting ready for the new growth cycle. But obviously, if it's a lot more than you're used to, if you're, for example, waking up in the morning and your whole pillowcase is full of a head of hair that stays behind, not on your head, then obviously there are definitely things that you need to look at. Diet play an incredibly important role. Supplementation could be really supportive there. And then definitely diet and stress is those are really big factors of looking at hair health as well. Right, but rosemary in general is incredibly supportive to having a very healthy head of hair. So if you can, for example, make some hair rinses, I'll actually mention a nice recipe at the end, or add rosemary to your plant-based shampoo, you definitely are going to be supporting really good hair care. Right, and then another thing that we also need to remember about rosemary is they call it a depurative. So it's a detoxifying oil, very supportive in supporting your body to get rid of toxins. So for this very reason, rosemary is exceptional for good liver support. So there's always a lot of different recipes available that are going to support various different organs in your body. But if I look at any liver recipe that I've ever come across for support to your liver, there's always rosemary in it. I've never found a liver recipe that doesn't contain that rosemary. So if you are interested in a little bit more of liver health, I will pop you a message just with some information. So if you want more info on liver, just go write liver in the comments, and I can send you some recipes and how you could use rosemary in various blends to support good liver health. And here it's not because you're just drinking too much or that kind of thing. Yes, it's that too, because you're overloading with toxins, but sometimes people have a digestive liver issue, for example, and your liver plays a very important role in digestion. So there's other oils that you, for example, can support the liver with there. But rosemary, again, is even one of those in those blends. So if you want a little bit more information on the liver, just go and pop that in the comments for me. I am just going to make a note about that liver because, and now I don't have a page here. Let me just get my notes. I remembered that Insta the comments that are made while I'm busy doing the live, they don't remain, unfortunately, afterwards. So I just need to write down who's asking for liver on Instagram. All right. So let's start running through some more of the amazing facts about rosemary. So it's usually very good for digestion as well. I suppose because of the liver area. Natasha's asking about where to find the chemistry wheel. I'm going to actually put that in the comments for you afterwards because I don't necessarily want to name any company names during my live sessions. The company that I support with my Tested Grade Essential Oils has got an amazing chemistry handbook, which you can download for free, by the way, where these chemistry wheels are actually sort of part of that ebook. So Natasha, I'll be popping you a message afterwards just to let you know exactly which one I'm referring to, but you can also quite easily go and, for example, go and Google emotional wheel or chemistry wheel for essential oils, and then you will find some images, but I'll definitely pop you the one that I'm using after this live today as well. All right, let me just quickly run down here. So here I made in my notes, definitely very good for the liver, definitely good for the hair, very high in antioxidant properties as well. So definitely a good essential oil to be using internally for antioxidant support. If you're using a tested grade oil that, like mine says, it is for food flavoring. So this is an oil that can be ingested. It is safe for internal use, and there's also a limit on how much you can use every day, and it's noted like that on the label. So always read the label. Don't ever use an essential oil if it states on there not for internal use, it's there for a reason. The oil hasn't been tested, and they have no idea whether it's going to cause your body more harm than any good. All right, so the mental health and the fatigue is something I really want to touch on here, because there's not only a lack of focus and a lot of stress tends to do its working on focus, right? So you sort of lose concentration, and it's almost like you can't focus on one specific task for a very long time. So memory issues and focus is something that comes up very often with rosemary, because it increases that acetylcholine, which is that neurotransmitter. So there's some really good blends available that you can put, for example, into a diffuser, where you can support really good memory and focus while you're busy doing something. I've got a really amazing diffuser blend that I found in one of my really nice resources, and it's actually called the Bright Eyed Diffuser Blend. And the blend is made basically to help you with critical thinking, and to move from from being overwhelmed to sort of open up to the future. And it has oils of rosemary, lemon, peppermint, wild orange, and eucalyptus in there. So it's a really nice and fragrant blend. It smells amazing. So for you to know exactly how many drops of each of those oils to put in your diffuser, just go in the comments and type in there for me, please, critical thinking, or just thinking. That's a shorter word. Type in the comments thinking, and that specific diffuser blend then that is going to support you with focus, I will then send to you straight after today's live as well. All right, so the word in the comment for that diffuser blend containing rosemary, lemon, peppermint, wild orange, and eucalyptus, just pop in the comments there, thinking. All right, so moving over to the physical aspects, when we look at the respiratory side, so here again it's the 1.8 cineol as well as the camphor. Both of these are decongestion, so it's really good to open up those airways so you can have clear breathing. So even when you have, for example, you suffer a lot from environmental threats and pollen and dust and things in the air. I, for example, last night forgot to put one of my respiratory blends in my diffuser. I was trying out a new sleep blend, but I didn't put any oils in there that were good for my nasal passages. And with my cats always sleeping on my bed with me, I did wake up this morning feeling incredibly congested. And I think because of the much drier air that we're experiencing now with winter that's coming, I really suffered this morning. And then I thought to myself, why am I more clogged up than I normally am? And then I realized, I put all of these beautiful calming and sleep oils in my diffuser last night, but I forgot about the respiratory support. So rosemary is a really good one during the day. I would not be putting rosemary in my diffuser at night because it is such a stimulating oil. You do run the risk of maybe staying awake a little bit longer than you should, in my opinion, for that one. But it's going to be really good for the congestion. So if you're walking around during the day and you feel you're slightly congested, you can even just take rosemary as is and add like 1 or 2 drops of carrier oil, and just run it over your nose bridge over here, which is going to really open up those airways. There's quite a lot of information about really good cellular health, for example, and for metabolism with rosemary. So here we're thinking the cellular health, which is very involved with male hormones, especially in the prostate area. That rosemary is actually a very good essential oil, where they mention it a lot for support in that specific area for really good cellular health. Now, this is obviously a stimulating oil, so if you are going to be applying it topically, always good to dilute with a carrier oil so that you don't oversensitize. We did talk about the nerve aspect. So because it is really good in supporting good nervous system health, think though all those diseases that one gets that affects the nervous system, rosemary is going to be really beneficial for those kind of conditions as well. When your muscles and those things start feeling affected, then adding that to a good carrier oil or a body lotion, and applying it over the area of discomfort is going to be really beneficial and supportive. Adrenal fatigue, any kind of fatigue for that matter, because it's such a stimulating oil. Rosemary is always in all of those blends. So if you go and read, for example, Dr. Marissa Snyder, she's an amazing doctor or functional medicine doctor talking about hormone health. And I think most of her energizing and energy blends and mental blends to sort of keep your brain away from that usual brain fog that a lot of people get in the afternoon, most of her blends actually contain rosemary in there because of that energizing benefit that it provides. There's also quite a lot of people that use rosemary in blends when they've got that cottage cheese effect on their bum area. I don't know what else to call it. I think that's quite descriptive for those of you that have got those kind of conditions. Rosemary is, because it's a stimulating oil, is always part of those. So you could make a blend, for example, with rosemary, and there's always grapefruit in those too. So rosemary, grapefruit, cypress, which increases circulation, for example, and then another stimulating oil like oregano, which is hot, a black pepper or a pink pepper, for example, even things like geranium. So the rosemary is also included for that cottage cheese bum effect, to try and support better circulation through certain areas of your body. Also, it's got a very strong smell. So I just caught one of my notes here on the side. When you are inclined to faint a lot, whether it be from low blood pressure or sugar, or there's so many things that can actually cause those kind of conditions. You always need to go and please find the root cause. But to help someone sort of wake up after that, rosemary is a really good essential oil. And you can simply just put a drop in your hand and rub your hands together, cup your nose and inhale deeply. All right, so that's most of the points where I think the top uses are. Let's talk about the blends that this specific essential oil rosemary comes into. One of my company's favorite blends has got a tension blend, which is specifically for when you're feeling discomfort in your head area, or even when you're feeling tension in muscles. Rosemary is actually one of the oils that is in that blend with the highest concentration. Then we also have a blend for children, which assists them with focus. It's called Thinker, very appropriate. And rosemary is also part of that oil. So there's quite a few blends, and then obviously our detoxification blend. We've got a blend called Zendocrine, which is really good in supporting good detox of organs in the body. And it's also part of that Zendocrine blend. Oh, I just realized I didn't say the tension blend is called past tense. It's an amazing blend with mostly herbs in there that are very stimulating, but also really good in bringing down tension levels, which is why it works for most people with head tension. All right, so those are the blends. And then there's just one more recipe I think I needed to share with you. Oh, it's the hair rinse. So you can add the rosemary to your shampoo and your conditioner, but there's also quite a lot of beautifying involved with a good hair rinse. So hair rinses are made for various different applications, whether it be to sort of try and get build-up of product off your hair, or whether it's just to support good scalp care. There's a lot of hair rinses recipes available which are really good in supporting or returning good pH levels after you've washed your hair, which is really good to support good scalp health as well. So hair rinses are amazing if you make them at home. You don't have to buy them. It's so easy to make them at home. And basically it just adjusts the pH. And obviously if you're going to be adding essential oils to that, you're going to get that inhalation of the oils. So you're going to have the aromatic benefit, but it's also going to be really good for hair care. So I've got a really amazing hair rinse, which is made of apple cider vinegar and either filtered or boiled and cooled down water with some rosemary and lavender essential oil in there, which works really, really well. It makes your hair shine very beautifully. So if any of you want to get that hair rinse recipe straight to your phone, please just put in the comments rinse, and I'll get that hair rinse recipe off to you as well. So I think today's been quite a long lesson, 28 minutes. I did have a lot of information in that one. Rosemary definitely is an oil that you should have around the home. I use it mostly for wound care. I use it mostly for focus and memory. Really good for wound care, by the way. Go and check my Science Monday post, where there's actually a scientific article talking about how rosemary actually is really supportive in that kind of condition. And obviously for the focus, for me and for my hair care, I absolutely love the hair care one. So I'll be sending those off to you. So the keywords obviously is rinse for the hair rinse, thinking for the critical, clear thinking and focus diffuser blend. And I think there was one other, now I forget. I'm going to have to re-listen to the recording for the one that I said right in the beginning. There was another one that I talked about. Oh, the liver support. There we go. Liver, if you just want a couple of recipes to look at that you could use to support your liver. So applying it topically over that area with some carrier oil. and then I'll get those off to you soon as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. I had a lot more on, so if any of you are quite eager to share this with those loved ones around you that may need this information, go share, go wild, and if you want to watch the replay, it'll be available here and also on my YouTube channel. So yes, see you guys again all next week, 12 noon for my next live for episode 32. If any of you have got any suggestions, for example, of oils that you would like more information on that you know I haven't talked about yet, never hesitate to contact me for those. I will build them into the sequence so we can have a really nice lesson on that as well. Thank you so much for joining today, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.